Hi everybody, happy Tuesday. Welcome to my chronic migraine life. Today's conversation is going to be brief. I just wanted to update those who watched my episode 18, Where Do I Begin? In that video I talked about contacting an old friend that I hadn't spoken to in a while, and we're trying to touch base. The back and forth went on a little bit longer than I would have liked, just because that's how life is. We get busy. And I knew it was going to be a conversation when we actually spoke that I needed time for and wanted to be really present in. And I was wondering in episode 18 how I would catch my friend up. I didn't remember the last time we spoke. I knew it had been a couple of years. Turns out it was 2. And in 2 years, of course, lots of things happen on a daily basis. You're at different points in your life. Maybe your job has changed. Maybe things have happened in your family, good or bad. And with me and this particular friend, we hadn't had a falling out. We just sort of lost touch. And we had a really solid connection. We met in grad school. We had gone through a lot of things together. And I knew that once we spoke, we would be back at it in each other's lives. So it was just a matter of reconnecting. But for me, even though not much has really changed, well, I didn't think so dramatically in the last 2 years, I feel much different than I did then, especially now that I've been on this journey of communicating what my chronic migraine life has really been all about from when it started till now. And my journey, I feel like a whole different person. I feel like someone moved the rock. I feel like I woke up out of a coma. And I'm approaching my 38th birthday, and last I remember I was 25 and started a descent into an area of grayness from which the haze didn't really lift until very recently. There were signs of it a few years ago, as not just 2 or 3 years ago, but not until really this year do I think I've really hit a stride running and having control of my actual life and health and all that kind of good stuff. So anyway, we reconnected and we spent 2 hours on the phone catching up on each other's stuff. And one of the first things that she asked me was how my head was. And I told her the really great news that I'm not on preventative medication anymore, that I go for Botox every 3 months as a maintenance drug. P.S. I am due for that in less than a week. Am I losing my mind? I think I go Monday. And I'm starting to feel that effects, especially now that I'm not on preventative medication anymore. And the rain has been so bad in New York City. And she was astonished. She was so excited because we have been friends. I've known her over 10 years. I can't even do the math. Maybe 15. And so we became friends way before I got really sick, and then she slowly watched this decline in my life. I didn't really ask her about that process or watch progress, but I would be interested as someone that knows me that long and that well to see what she had to say. But she was blown away. She was excited. She was so happy for me. And just hearing it in her voice and knowing it's someone that's genuine in my life and always has been was exciting. I mean, it's exciting for me on a regular basis, but to hear it in somebody's voice. Now, we went through a range of topics and really heavy conversation at one point, and she kept coming back to, I can't believe how well you're doing. I can't believe how well. Thank God. And every time she stopped me to bring it back to that topic, I was more excited than anything. I was proud, even though I'm not sure that my strength and determination is really what made me better. I like to think so. I'd like to take credit for it, because when you go through the darkest times in your life and come out the other side better for it and make the people around you better for it, that has something to do with you. You know, we don't choose the struggles that we get, but we choose how they affect us. And although I've heard that expressed by many people in many different ways, until you are on the other side, and for me, until I just recently, can I really appreciate that. Because when you're in the middle of the struggle, you know, you're just trying to deal with things, and you hope that it won't change you for the worse. And in the moment, you don't care necessarily. And You know, you always say when you're down, how you choose to handle that. I never thought about any of that when I was sick, because I was sick and in pain and suffering. And each moment seemed worse than the next. And, you know, it was a first world problem to be worried about how I was going to learn and grow from this. Who cared? You know? Would I ever get better? And I don't even know that I focused that much on what my life would be like, or... Well, here's an aha moment for you. I don't think I thought about the future at all. I find myself lately in a place of resentment for choices that I've made, or choices that I thought that I had the chance to make, for the condition of my life, the status of my life, where I am at my life. And on a daily, I find myself really struggling to give myself the permission to accept the things I cannot change and just deal with where I am and making sure that it gets me where I'm going. There's a tendency to want to just give up, kind of. Like, did I waste too much time going through what I went through, that I cannot achieve the things? Is it always too late, right? People worry about that in general. But for me, it wasn't a waste, of course, and it wasn't my choice, and it wasn't my fault. And I know all of those things. And my friend reiterated that to me again. But it was like an assault. I thought of that word yesterday. And somehow it brought me comfort, because it showed the right amount of force that it felt. I feel like I was assaulted. And in a lot of ways, my body was. I was assaulted and knocked down. And it took me that long and that much energy and focus and whatever to get to where I am now. But where I am now, in comparison to where I wish I was now, and to where the people around you, your peers, are, in a lot of ways, my journey took more effort and whatevers to get to this place, but it seems that they have more to show for it. That makes sense, right? Like, I feel like it took them less to get to whatever family, job, whatever their goals were, than it was for me just to get here. And of course, these are not only my goals just to be a functioning person on a daily basis, let alone in society, let alone in the person I want to be, the woman I want to be. To quote from Diane von Furstenberg, like, I lost all that time. And it's hard. I guess now I focus a lot on the positive and the blessed part and the grateful part, because I am. But there's grief kind of attached to it too. I didn't always know that. Like, I get emotional talking on these videos a lot, thinking of the past. A lot of that emotion doesn't have to do with the present, but this conversation does. I'm mourning what I lost. I'm mourning the experiences I might not get to have because of that time. I'm mourning a part of my youth. The chance to build the life I want. Now, of course, the opposite side of that is I'm actually healthy and well enough to start all that building now. But it just feels like the foundation I should have at this age, at this point in my life, I don't have. And of course, I'm not that same person. I've been many variations of me in my 37 years on this planet. And I guess the last 10 or 15, they always say in your 20s, is for growing or learning or figuring out who you are. And I always thought that was bullshit, because when you're younger than 20, you think you know everything. And when you're going through it, you still think you know everything. And what else is there to learn? I want added already, right? And it's not until you're in your 30s and whatever happens to you in your life and whatever your challenges have been and the situation has been, that you sit back and either can reap the rewards and benefits physically or emotionally and sort of check where you are. And my 20s were mostly great. At the end of my 20s is when I started to get really sick. And so I feel like I lost out on the beginning of my 30s, because I feel like those are the years that really that set you up for the rest of your life, that put into motion the things that, you know, make those bonds and life choices that will set you up for where you want to ultimately end up at the end of your life. I know that this journey and what I've gone through has still done that for me. Maybe not in the ways that I want. Maybe that's what makes me sad. And because when you're sick, you feel like you're waiting so long to live, and that even though now you get to it, you still have so much work to do to still catch up to those other things. Because while you were putting all your energy and time and effort into getting well, it wasn't into that other pot. So you still have that work to be done. You still have that catching up to do. And so it feels like you had twice as much work to do than everybody else. I choose to believe that what I went through, and the reason I went through it wasn't necessarily to teach other people, but I'm choosing to use that platform. For me, it makes it sort of worth it. I really envision it myself writing the book that I've been mentally preparing for the last year or so in my mind, eventually sitting down to type it. A lot of writing for me happens in my brain long before I ever open a computer or pick up a pen or paper. I have to work out in my head, you know, the details. And I really believe that that book will change people's lives, and I know it will change my life. And I hope to be able to spread my message around the world and be an advocate for people that aren't well enough or strong enough or have the right tools. I just want to be at that point already. But like other challenges in my life, not necessarily even my health, I know I have to walk through it in order to get to that side. I might not be psyched about that always, or maybe at this moment especially. But the grief and the releasing and the speaking it into existence is all part of that process. So that's what I'm going to do. I just have to do the work. I have to believe, which is really difficult sometimes, a lot of the times, and just do the work. Because if I do the work, you know, you build it, they will come. And so that's what I have to do here. So this is my effort to get back where I belong. And I hope that everyone else is doing the same.